Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg Mckeown. Chapter 1. Meet Emily, a woman burdened by more. Emily sat at her desk, staring at the never-ending list of tasks in front of her. It was 7 p.m., and she still had a mountain of emails to reply to, meetings to schedule, and deadlines to meet. She felt overwhelmed, exhausted, and unfulfilled. The more she did, the more she seemed to have to do. She had always been a high achiever, striving to do it all, to be everything to everyone. Yet, it felt like she was running in place, getting nowhere. At the same time, Emily had a growing sense of unease. She wondered if this frantic pace was truly fulfilling her. She had personal goals she'd put on the back burner for years, passions she longed to pursue, but never seemed to have time for. She realized that the constant juggling of responsibilities had blurred her sense of purpose. That's when she came across a book, Essentialism, The Disciplined Pursuit of Less by Greg Mckeown. Her friend had recommended it, claiming it completely changed the way she viewed life. Skeptical but desperate for change, Emily picked it up. Little did she know, it would be the beginning of a radical shift in her life. Chapter 2. The Paradox of Success. Emily started reading, and the first thing that caught her attention was the paradox of success. Mckeown opened by explaining how, in today's world, we are bombarded with countless opportunities, requests, and demands on our time. The more successful we become, the more we're asked to do. The more we strive for success, the more we fill our lives with stuff, meetings, social events, side projects, and in the process, we spread ourselves too thin. Emily reflected on her own life. The more successful she became in her career, the more responsibilities piled on her plate. She thought that being busy equaled being successful. She thought that if she could just get everything done, she would be happy. But instead, she was constantly exhausted, mentally cluttered, and unfulfilled. Mckeown's message was clear. Success in one area of life doesn't guarantee success in others. True success, according to him, doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing less, but doing what really matters. Chapter 3. The Core of Essentialism. Doing less to do more. As Emily moved on to the next chapter, she learned about the core principle of essentialism, the disciplined pursuit of less. Mckeown argued that in order to achieve true effectiveness, we need to focus on fewer, more meaningful tasks and eliminate the unnecessary ones. It's not about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. Mckeown explained that many of us live our lives in a state of non-essentialism, where we say yes to everything, believing that we need to take on every opportunity to be successful. But in doing so, we lose focus on what truly matters. He likened life to a person trying to keep every plate spinning in the air. Eventually, the plates will fall. Emily realized that she had been living this way for years. She had been taking on every request, every project, trying to meet everyone's expectations. But in the process, she had lost sight of what was truly important to her. Chapter 4. The Power of Choice. The next lesson Emily absorbed from Mckeown was the power of choice. Essentialism, Mckeown wrote, begins with realizing that we always have a choice. We have the power to decide what to prioritize and what to say no to. The most successful and fulfilled people don't say yes to every opportunity. They say yes to the right ones. Emily thought about how often she had defaulted to saying yes without truly considering the impact on her time, energy, or happiness. She had been operating on autopilot, accepting every meeting invite, responding to every email, and agreeing to every commitment without asking herself if it was truly worth her time. Mckeown's words resonated. Remember that if you don't prioritize your life, someone else will. Emily realized that by defaulting to other people's priorities, she had given up control over her own life. Chapter 5. The Vital Few versus the Trivial Many. As Emily read further, McKeown introduced the concept of the vital few versus the trivial many. This concept came from the famous Pareto's 80-20 rule, which suggests that 80% of our results come from 20% of our efforts. The trick to being effective, McKeown explained, was identifying the 20%, the vital few things that truly move the needle, and focusing on them. The rest of the tasks, which are often the trivial many, are distractions. They may seem urgent, but they don't significantly contribute to our long-term goals or well-being. Emily had never considered this. She had always tried to tackle everything on her to-do list, believing that every task was equally important. But now she saw that the majority of her time was spent on tasks that were unimportant, like responding to every email or attending every meeting. She needed to refocus her energy on the vital few tasks that truly mattered. Chapter 6. Explore and Eliminate. The next lesson McKeown introduced was Explore and Eliminate. To practice Essentialism, McKeown advised taking time to explore the many options available to us before making decisions. We often rush into commitments without fully considering their impact, but exploring all our options helps us choose the most important ones. Emily had a tendency to jump into decisions without fully thinking them through, often agreeing to tasks or projects out of fear of missing out or disappointing others. McKeown's advice to explore first and eliminate later was a revelation. It encouraged her to step back, take a breath, and reflect on her options before committing to anything. Emily began to take time each week to reflect on her goals, reassess her commitments, and eliminate tasks that no longer served her. She learned to be more mindful about the things she said yes to, focusing only on what was truly essential. Chapter 7. Setting Boundaries. One of the biggest challenges Emily faced was learning to set boundaries. McKeown argued that in order to be an essentialist, we must learn how to say no gracefully. Saying no is not about rejecting people. It's about protecting our time and energy for what matters most. Emily found this particularly difficult. She didn't want to let anyone down, and she feared that saying no would make her seem unhelpful or unsupportive. But as she read McKeown's advice, she realized that by saying yes to everything, she was actually being less helpful. She was stretched too thin to give her best effort in any area. To practice this habit, Emily started setting clear boundaries. She began saying no to meetings that didn't align with her goals, to tasks that weren't important, and to social events that drained her. She learned to communicate her boundaries with kindness and confidence, recognizing that her time was precious and that it was okay to prioritize herself. Chapter 8. The Essence of Essentialism. In the final chapters, McKeown wrapped up by emphasizing the essence of essentialism, the pursuit of a life that is both simpler and more meaningful. He reminded Emily that being an essentialist isn't about rejecting everything or doing less for the sake of it. It's about making deliberate, thoughtful choices that align with your highest values and goals. Emily realized that this mindset shift wasn't just about work, it was about life. She could apply the principles of essentialism to all areas of her life, from her career to her relationships, her health, and her personal passions. By focusing on the essential and eliminating the non-essential, she could create a life that was more aligned with her true purpose. Chapter 9. Emily's Transformation, a Life Reclaimed. As weeks passed, Emily began to implement the principles of essentialism into her daily life. She started each day with a clear sense of purpose, prioritizing her most important tasks. She said no to the trivial many, focused on the vital few, and reclaimed her time. Her productivity improved, but more importantly, she felt more fulfilled. Her relationships deepened because she was present when she was with others. She felt less stressed because she wasn't constantly reacting to everyone else's demands. She found time for her passions, like painting and hiking, and began to pursue her long-term goals with renewed energy and clarity. Essentialism didn't just change the way Emily worked, it changed the way she lived. She had gone from being overwhelmed and busy to being intentional and purposeful. And for the first time in years, Emily felt that her life was truly hers. She had embraced the philosophy of Essentialism, and it had transformed her life. It wasn't about doing more, it was about doing less, but doing it better. Essentialism had given her the tools to design a life that was both simpler and more meaningful. And now, she felt equipped to live it fully.